Have you ever witnessed a dynasty soar so high that it begins to neglect the fundamentals? Let me pose a question. What happens when that same dynasty gets exposed in the one area nobody's talking about? This isn't about the offensive line, Mahomes, or even the wide receivers. No, this goes deeper. Stick with me until the end, because after hearing this, you'll never watch a Chiefs game the same way again. Smash that like button, drop a quick if you still believe in the Chiefs, or if your faith is fading. And don't forget to subscribe. This one's a wake-up call. Let me lay it out for you. While everyone's running their mouths about the Kansas City Chiefs chasing a three-peat, about Mahomes being untouchable, about the offensive line being fortified like Fort Knox, I want you to pause. Stop the noise and look at the one area of this offense that's been ignored, overlooked, and treated like an afterthought. I'm talking about the backfield. Yeah, you heard me. The running backs, the engine behind the engine. That part of the offense that once struck fear into defenses now looks like it's running on fumes. You think a dynasty thrives on air? No shot. Even a Ferrari needs fuel. And right now, this Chiefs backfield doesn't have premium gas in the tank. Let's be brutally honest. In 2024, Kansas City ranked 26th in rushing yards per game. 26th. That's not just underwhelming. It's a glaring weakness. You don't hang banners with that kind of production. 101.2 yards per game. That's not even mediocre. That's like stepping into a heavyweight bout with pillows taped to your fists. And here we are deep into the offseason, and everyone's still obsessing over the O-line or who Mahomes might turn into the next breakout star. Meanwhile, the run game is sitting in the shadows, collecting dust. Let's talk facts. Isaiah Pacheco, the Bulldog, the heartbeat, the guy who charges like every carry is a street fight, hasn't looked the same since his injury. Don't get it twisted. I respect the guy. I love how he attacks defenders like they stole something. But let's be real. That burst, that fury, that signature explosiveness that made him special, it's missing. Maybe temporarily, maybe permanently. That's the brutal reality of football. Injuries alter you. They shift your confidence, your stride, your attack. That hesitation. It's the difference between a 4-yard gain and getting swallowed behind the line. And now enter Kareem Hunt.
Yes.
That Kareem. You know what you're getting. Bruising runs, a chip on his shoulder, a veteran still running like he's got something to prove. But this isn't rookie Hunt. He's not turning dump-offs into highlight reels anymore. He's a warrior, sure, but he's not the future. And here's the kicker. Neither of these guys is under contract beyond 2025. You heard me. Not a single one. That makes this season more than a prove-it year. It's a fork-in-the-road moment for the entire franchise. Do you double down on aging backs with question marks, or do you plant the seeds for the next chapter of this offense? Enter the NFL draft. If I'm in the Chiefs front office, I'm not just eyeing linemen or gadget guys. I'm laser focused on two names that could ignite this backfield like wildfire. RJ Harvey from UCF and Cam Scatabo from Arizona State. These aren't just prospects. They're wrecking balls. Harvey, this man put up over 1,500 yards and 22 touchdowns last season. He's compact, explosive, and he runs like he's got a grudge against the turf. That's a Chief-style runner. No dancing, no hesitation, just downhill destruction. Put him behind a rebuilt line while Mahomes manipulates the safeties with his eyes. That's a defensive coordinator's worst nightmare. And then there's Scatabo, 1711 yards, 21 touchdowns. This dude isn't trying to be cute. He's a sledgehammer, all torque, all tenacity. You need 3 yards, he gives you 4. You need 1, he gives you 7. You do not want to be the defender meeting him head on during a frigid December night at Arrowhead. Scatabo doesn't just wear out defenders, he demoralizes them by the third quarter. So why does this matter? Because you don't win Super Bowls on Mahomes' arm alone. Not anymore. Defenses have adjusted. Safeties are deeper. Corners are playing soft zones. They're daring Kansas City to run. And right now, the Chiefs are shrugging and saying, no thanks. That's not championship football. That's arrogance. That's clinging to yesterday. And we all know what happens when a dynasty lives in the past. When a dynasty starts believing its own legend and forgets to replenish its arsenal, it collapses. Think back to the playoffs. Sure, the Chiefs went all the way, but rewind those games. How many came down to the wire? How many second and longs turned into third and forevers? How many times did Mahomes have to turn water into wine because the ground game left him stranded? That cannot be the blueprint going forward. That can't be the bar, because when you start gambling with legacy, you're playing a dangerous game. And speaking of legacy, let's get something straight. The window of dominance is never as wide as it seems. Players age. Contracts expire, rosters shift. If Kansas City wants to sustain greatness, not just survive 2025, but own 2026 and beyond, they need an infusion of youth in the backfield. The NFL draft, that's not just a tool. And while rival teams are out here locking down future All-Pros, The Chiefs cannot afford to let this moment slip away. To those saying, we'll just ride with Pacheco and Hunt, they'll bounce back. Let me remind you, hope is not a strategy. Hope doesn't win championships. Production does. Depth does. Versatility does. Championship backfields aren't just built on heart. They're built on rotation, on power, on having multiple threats that bring different looks to a defense. That's the secret sauce. That's how you keep Mahomes upright, how you drain the clock, how you take over games. So yes, the Chiefs absolutely need to look at RJ Harvey and Cam Scatabo. They need to bring in fresh legs with fight fury and something to prove. Not just because of what went wrong in 2024, but because of what's coming next. Because the AFC, it's sharpening its teeth. Baltimore, Buffalo, Cincinnati, they're coming. And if Kansas City stands still while everyone else reloads, that crown will slip. That aura of invincibility, it will fracture, and when it cracks, it shatters fast. This isn't about disrespecting Pacheco or Hunt. It's about honesty. It's about foresight. It's about preserving a dynasty before it erodes. It's about doing what champions of, making the adjustment before it becomes a necessity, fixing the roof while the sun's still shining. Because if you wait for the storm, you're already too late. Now let's pick up where we left off because we're just getting started. If you thought part one went hard, buckle up. We're about to rip the curtain all the way back and expose the cracks forming at the core of this empire. This isn't just about numbers. It's about mindset, urgency, identity. The Chiefs are flirting with something deadly. Stagnation. You want to know the common thread in every long-term dynasty. They evolve. They anticipate, they never wait for disaster to strike before they pivot. Right now, Kansas City is tempting fate, coasting on talent, assuming greatness will just renew itself. Yes, Mahomes is the best quarterback on the planet. Yes, Kels is a walking Hall of Famer. But if you think those two alone can carry a one-dimensional offense without a ground game to balance the scales, you're ignoring where the NFL is headed. Defenses are learning. They're bracketing Kelsey. They're sitting deep. They're baiting the Chiefs into empty sets on 3rd and long, blitzing from creative angles, daring them to run. And when you can't run, you become predictable. You become mortal. You lose the leverage of play action. You shrink the field. You make Mahomes fight for every inch against defenses that no longer fear your backfield. So tell me again, how can anyone in that building look at the current state of the running game and say, we're good? They're not good. They're exposed. And if the front office is half as sharp as their trophy case suggests, they'll stop ignoring the red flag flapping behind Mahomes. Let's go back to Pacheco, no doubt. He's one of the most violent, relentless runners in the league. The guy brings linebacker energy to every handoff. But even Warriors wear down, you ride a 5th-round pick like a 1st-round bell cow for 3 years straight with no help. He's going to break down. And in 2024, that's exactly what happened. Banged up, limited, missing. And Hunt. The story's poetic, the comeback, the full circle narrative. But this isn't a movie script. This is war. And war demands durability. A 29-year-old back with thousands of NFL collisions in his body is not your long-term answer. So let's talk solutions, and let's keep it real. The Chiefs don't need one new back. They need 2. One to plug in immediately, one to develop into a future star. Day 2, day 3, I don't care. Just don't leave this draft without restocking the artillery. RJ Harvey, he's a day 2 steal waiting to happen. Built like a fire hydrant. Low center of gravity, explodes off contact like he's made of kinetic energy, vision, sharp, balance, elite. And he runs like every carry's a grudge match. Cam Scatabo, he's the hammer to Harvey's blade. Pure grit, no wasted motion, no finesse, just force. He punishes tacklers, shortens drives, and turns cold weather games into trench warfare. This is what a modern backfield needs. Not nostalgia, not hope. Not over-reliance on 2 worn-down runners. It needs power, rotation, identity. If the Chiefs want to stay kings, they need to reload like kings. His burst, criminally underrated. He doesn't need a massive lane, just a sliver of daylight, and he'll carve his own path through sheer willpower and brute strength. When the temperatures drop, the collisions hit harder, and you need to assert dominance late in the game. Then on day 3, you steal a guy like Cam Scatabo. And I do mean steal because his production is absurdly overlooked. He's the enforcer, the sledgehammer you unleash when you're up a touchdown in the 4th quarter and want to drain every last second from the clock. He's your 3rd and 2 answer Punisher who takes the heart out of linebackers. Now picture this Harvey Scatabo and Pacheco, 3 unique weapons forming a legitimate 3-headed beast. Explosiveness, grit, experience, all in the same backfield. Imagine what that does for Mahomes. Suddenly play action becomes deadly again. Linebackers are forced to honor the run, and that buys crucial time for Kelsey, for Rice, for whoever lines up on the outside. You extend drives. You protect your QB. You keep elite Opposing offense is frozen on the sideline. That's the value of a legitimate ground game, balance, and balance is what sustains dynasties. But let's zoom out. Let's talk message. Let's talk culture. When you draft a young back, when you invest in that position group, you're making a statement to the locker room. You're saying we're not standing pat. You're telling Mahomes, we've got your 6. You're telling the defense, we're going to give you rest by controlling time of possession. That builds trust. That energizes the building. That sends a clear message to the league. The Chiefs aren't standing still. And don't feed me that we'll figure it out mid-season excuse. No, you won't. The schedule's a gauntlet. You've got the Bills, Ravens, Bengals, Texans, all young, aggressive, and coming for your throne. If you don't start fast, you'll be gasping by Thanksgiving. And in the AFC, falling behind is a death sentence. At its core, this whole conversation comes down to complacency versus urgency. Complacency says, we're the champs. We'll be fine. Urgency says, we're the champs, but we want more. And believe the IQs behind you are moving with urgency. You think Baltimore is just banking on Lamar staying healthy? No. They're stacking weapons. You think Cincinnati is putting it all on Burrow magic? Absolutely not. They're building through the trenches. They're bulking up the run game. They're getting nasty on defense. If Kansas City doesn't match that mindset, they'll look up in December wondering how it all slipped away. So here's my message to the front office. Loud and clear, stop acting like everything's fine just because you've got Mahomes. He's not a one-man army. He needs support. He needs a backfield that strikes fear and that help. It needs to come in the 2025 draft. Bring in Harvey. Bring in Scatabo. Let them battle it out with Pacheco and Hunt. Let the cream rise. Let iron sharpen iron. Because if you're not sharpening this backfield, you're dulling by the week. And to the fans, listen up. You deserve more. You deserve a team that's bold, forward-thinking, and relentless in the pursuit of greatness. You don't want to wake up 2 years from now watching Mahomes throw 60 times a game, while defenses tee off on him because there's no threat from the run. You want fireworks and fundamentals. You want finesse and force. You want a team that can launch it deep and smash you in the mouth. That's what a true dynasty looks like. So if you're riding with the Chiefs, if you believe in Mahomes, if you want to see this team hoist another Lombardi instead of crumbling like so many other one-and-done empires, then demand more from the run game because the weakness is hiding in plain sight. And it's only going to grow more costly if they don't fix it now. Before it becomes a crisis, let your voice be heard. Hit that like button. Smash that subscribe. Are you riding with the backfield as is, or do we need new blood to carry this team forward? Chiefs Kingdom, the choice is yours.